You can dress it up however you like, but at the end of the day, most people who identify as indie authors are not actually authors. They're just playing dress up. Hello, you writing rebels. I'm Kristen McTiernan, formerly the nonsense-free editor. We had a bit of a brand change to make things more appropriate around here. And today my interview guest is one Rian Stone, who I've spoken about previously on the channel, but I've never had him on. Rian is killing it as an author. He's been killing it for a while, but the thing that makes him most unique is that he came to us from the nonfiction writing community. He sold well in nonfiction, and if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that selling nonfiction is very, very different from selling fiction. Nonfiction has a value proposition, oftentimes a return on investment promise to the reader who's purchasing your book. Whereas fiction, totally different thing. You're just selling a good story that the reader may or may not enjoy. And what a lot of people won't tell you is that when you are coming over from nonfiction, a lot of times those same sales you had for nonfiction do not translate to fiction. As in with all of my interviews, not only did we talk about sales, marketing, and the indie writer community, we focused a lot on what it actually means to be an author, to be a writer, to be contributing your voice to the cultural zeitgeist. Here we are all about making your own signal. And a big part of that is making your work worthy of a reader's time. And we spent a lot of time talking about that. I am so happy to have Rian on the channel, and I think you're really going to enjoy this interview. I hope you learn a lot from him as much as I have about selling your work and building an audience that is unique unto you, while not chasing pats on the head from people who will never like you. So let's get into it. I always like to start off with the background because people come from a variety of backgrounds and then just stumble into fiction writing. But for most everybody that I work with, and for a lot of people that watch me, they're like, oh, I always dreamed of being an author. And they had that dream of writing fiction for a living. And that's what they wanted to do. They did other stuff to make money, but the fiction, that was always the goal from a young age. But I don't think that was true for you. So why don't
Wow.
you take us through this extremely interesting career that you've had that has brought you to writing dystopia?
I read the Hardy Boys as a kid. I remember that in my little library, and that was always fun. And I remember writing like D&D fiction because I was into that at the time, but that was
Mhm.
it. And then I went to college to do graphic design, and that didn't pan out and ended up joining the military. And so I was basically illiterate. Like I left in 2015 to work corporate, and then I had to start doing memos and a couple of compliance documents and whatever. And then at the time there was the red pill thing was new, and I was like most people getting red pilled on the world, those damn Democrats. Now for me it was more a crisis of faith. The whole queen and country thing didn't go the way I liked it, and so that was like a nice place for me to process that and work through it, and ended up writing nonfiction at first, which I think you know this part where it was just all this stuff was great. It helped me. Everybody's just sit like at the time, Andrew Tate and Myron Gaines were doing their little Instagram ass modeling. And I thought all this stuff's kind of just disappearing. So I should probably write it down for longevity. And so I'd written 3 books essentially on everything useful that was in the red pill that didn't involve yelling at wham. And then I was finished that. And then you get to that point as like, and I'm doing it for a living. Like I left corporate and I'm down here and I was doing it full time. Like it's great. And then I realized I've said everything. There's nothing more to say. And so what do? I'm like, oh my God, do I turn into one of those guys that just repeats the same 7 catchphrases, turn into a Kevin Samuels or, and I'm like, I can't live like that. What's the next logical thing to do with this? Let's make fiction. There's all these people that have been red pilled to the whatever. And why not give them compelling stories? So that was why I did fiction. It was just me. I needed something to do. And I always want to say like Hemingway was an inspiration, but it was like after the fact. He was a professional writer. He didn't journalism and shit. And for him, it was a paycheck. I actually enjoy that because once you treat it like a job, you take it seriously. I actually cannot stand those people you were talking about with my passion is to feel my, like, shut up. I hate communists. They're just ridiculous. No, that came out of nowhere. Is that, and I think that kind of gets to where I am now. So the first one I wrote was like an autofiction. It was about a guy who makes a promise to his mom to never be as bad as his stepdad, not realizing that his stepdad had been married to her for 20 years. So clearly she liked the treatment. And I thought I took that as a premise and just rolled with that as the first story. And then when that one was done, I caught the bug and I'm like, I got another one done. And then in 4 months, you know what? Cyberpunk. I always loved cyberpunk. So I'm like, why don't we just do this with cyberpunk? And that's where we are now.
So this is a fun idea where it's just The ideas that you got, because people say, okay, I'm going to pivot to fiction. And you treat it like a business, but at the same time, the genres that you selected was based on actually what you wanted to write. It wasn't based on, I'm going to analyze the market and I'm going to find a tactical hole, giggity,
Oh,
and then I'm going to write that. But no, you said, okay, yeah, I'm going to write fiction, but I'm going to write something I want. So was there any kind of tactical decision in choosing what book you were going to write?
even the choosing what I'm going to write, it's a tactical or strategic decision. Because what are you going to do? You're going to pander? I'm going to write what's hot right now. And all you're going to do is you're going to look at what's hot and you're going to make a photocopy of it. You're going to make a deep fried version of it. Everybody's going to, and it maybe it'll work, but most of the people don't. Most people don't have anything that works. And then a year later, you look back, you're like, what is this piece of shit? I can read my books again. I've read them like 3, 4 times and I'm not sick of them. And that's hard for me because I hate my work. I hate other people's work, but I really hate my work. Good example of this, Substack. There was some guy on there saying you should start appealing to older women readers with your writing because they buy books and they finish them. And I thought about that and I was thinking of that Steve Jobs line, people don't know what they want until you give it to them. Like, why would I target older women? I'm going to do what I think they want. They're going to hate being pandered to. And then they're going to not like it. And then I'm going to get resentful because I wrote this for you. Why don't you love me? The whole thing just makes no sense. And so why don't I just write what I want? Sure. But write it. I think execution matters far more than all of these goofy target demographic decisions. Because they're all the same story. I'm like, and that's the one thing I've learned. Genre is just a setting. Softbone, it's cyberpunk dystopia. What is it? It's like a book about a guy learning to be free from his like bitchy over authoritative wife, and then learning that just being free doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want. There's consequences to it. That's a story you could put anywhere. And most good stories that I enjoy are stories that could be anywhere. They just had to have a setting, and so they pick it. So again, all these tactical decisions, I think they need to be subordinate to, can you put words onto a page that makes people want to keep reading them? Which I don't think anybody thinks about that, which really sucks from a reader perspective.
And I think the funny thing about stories is you're right. It's all the same stories. And when you're writing nonfiction, which is where you got your start, they always say, okay, make these facts into a story because that's what captures humans' ability. And yet somehow it's very difficult to bridge the gap. So you're a nonfiction author, you're a red pill guy, you're one of those evil manosphere people. And you have this existing audience, and we teach everybody, yeah, you got to have an audience because people
Yeah.
have to know that your book exists. They have to be excited for you and your book. So you had this audience, but then you ask them to come with you on this new thing. Okay, so here's facts and here's something with tangible ROI. I'm going to get you later. I'm going to fix your marriage. And now here's just a story. So,
Hmm.
how did you bring your existing audience, which is fairly sizable? You've got thousands of followers across Substack, Twitter, YouTube. So, good sized community. But now you've got to bring them with you. You got to say, hey, trust me, come with me over to fiction, which is not what you came here originally for. How did you do that? What was the
Give it to
process
them
or
for
what was
free,
the thought
man.
behind it?
Always give it to them for free. I love when people bitch and moan about paywalls and just give them everything for free because nobody buys your work. They buy you. They like you and they want to give you money, but they don't want to just donate to an e-girl. And I know this is a really cynical way of putting it, but it fits. So when I'm sending these books out, I send excerpts every week, sometimes every couple times a day, especially as I'm getting closer to the end. You could probably, if you put all those emails together, you'd have the entire book right there, 90% of it. But people don't want that. It was the same thing with the nonfiction. But then at the end, here is a product. It is a book. It is designed to be a full experience, all that stuff. It's commodity versus luxury branding. And I know that's a weird way to put it, but the reference I used in one of my nonfiction books to articulate this was about edamame beans. Like soya beans, they're what, like a penny a bushel? So they're just nothing. But then some really clever chef decided put them on a plate, put some salt, soy sauce on them, call them edamame, and sell them for $10 a plate. Same bean, same bean. But there's the difference. And yeah, for a lot of people, they might love books and they might like this. They could have read it all there, but no, I don't want that. I want a book because a book is an experience and a book is a thing. But who the fuck am I? Oh, sorry, I don't mean to swear.
Oh,
Who the hell am
swear
I?
your heart out. We do swearing.
I can't leave the sailor behind. Who the hell is this guy to write anything? And I'm like, well, here you go. I don't want any surprises. I think that's the other thing too. You have to have a confidence in your work. So for example, I'm sending out everything. There's no surprises. If you don't like cyberpunk, or if you don't like the way I write, before you make any purchasing decisions. And I find too many people are a little insecure. Oh, they might not like me, so I better just hide the stuff that I'm insecure about. So by the time they've invested in me, there's a chance that I can swing them. It's no, man. Do you really want a customer that hates you? I've seen Goodreads. Do you want that guy with 1-star review? This guy's a cuck. No. And then heaven forbid, how many people, like, your fans will, maybe they'll like something and they'll scroll through your stuff and they'll like it, but haters will look at everything. They will hate watch everything. They will comment on everything. And it's like, why do I want to embolden those people? Yeah, as far as, what was the original question? I don't even remember. I got to stop monologuing. We just did this conversation.
Well, that's actually good. So that was pivoting your audience from fiction to nonfiction, but that does lead me in because for me, and this is selfish, I have been so entertained watching your reaction to interacting with the writing community. This has just, oh, it just tickles me to watch because there's a lot I can't say out loud because I offer writing services. So I can't scream, these guys are fucking idiots, but you do it for me. So what was that like for you? Because you came over from bro Twitter, and then you're going over to indie
lame.
writers. Yeah.
People are, I feel like when Michael Jordan going into the Bush leagues. Oh, like, dude, there was this guy, 80J. He harassed my peer's daughter for 3 years. There was another guy who, a little Russian Nazi wannabe kid, he would harass us with World War II reference type stuff for years. There was a guy who shot 6 people in Colorado and suicided by cop, Roman McClay, look him up. There was one dude, Pat Stedman, he's my all-time favorite, was like calling me a low IQ moron for years until he got arrested at the January 6th riots. Got George Bruno, 20-minute like rambling crazy BoomerCon rants from his Toyota Tacoma. He called me, like, he's throwing slurs at me, whatever, and it's like just the most unhinged stuff. I make promotions out of him. Like,
he was the one who was like, someone find me his real name.
That guy. And so I come to the writer community and these people are just like passive aggressive and snarky. I'm like, bro, this doesn't even register. Come on. So for me, a lot of I don't even have fun like enjoying the beef because everybody needs to. I get it. It's an audience. It's a spectator sport. You don't actually hate author A or author B. You just want to see, remember, I don't know if you're a girl, but you're like tomboy vibes. So maybe you remember this. Did you ever have He-Man and G.I. Joe? And you start clocking them together as a kid, making explosion sounds with your mouth. Yeah. That's what people want. So I'm like, fine, here you go. Have some fun with it. And I think if you're going to do beef properly, A, have fun. B, make it entertaining, because so much beef is just people nipping at each other like housewives of New Jersey, which I don't fucking want to read that. And then C, it's got to have some truth to it. Like, I can't just shit on somebody who's like doing really good. I have to shit on somebody whose ego has gotten the best of them, or is like completely insane, or decided that AI writing is the future or some crap like that. Yeah, but it's fun because it's just, they give you everything. Here, Kristen, hey, I'm an idiot. And you're like, all you got to do is here. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the peanut gallery. And then, of course, nobody thinks they're an idiot. I don't think I'm an idiot. Idiots don't think they're idiots. Crazies don't think they're crazy. They think they're reasonable. So when you're like showing them exactly what they are, but in a non-flattering way, what else are you going to do? I better spurg the fuck out, because if people don't know I'm a good person, and the best way to figure that out is to have a temper tantrum on Twitter. Come on.
That's been the most revealing thing to me. It's just, if you narrow down like all their tweets, all their marketing, and what they get upset about on Twitter, it's all about, please like me and please say I'm a good person. And if you don't say I'm a good person, then I'm going to flip my lid. And it's just, it has nothing to do with writing fiction, marketing fiction, and selling fiction. So what are you here for? And it's all just,
I know,
personal branding.
Not a single person has bothered writing. And like, it's writing space. Why aren't you writing good prose for your beef? I know I've had a few in there where I'm like, sometimes it's just like, I'm lazy, whatever. But sometimes I put some effort and I give you guys some goddamn good short stories on this bullshit. Because I feel bad, because for you, they are clients. So you have to be like very, what's the word? Not conjugal. What's a nice word to say for being
Convivial.
nice?
Yes.
There. I like that one. Man, I should learn to write because they got some crazy words you can use on stuff.
I've started asking more tactical questions, and that has shifted my clientele. Because I've noticed that when I get these women, they come into and especially on Fiverr, because I'm listed there too. They write me this whole big paragraph about what their book is about, and I don't give a shit. How many words is it? What genre is it? And who is the target audience? And they'll get offended at that direct thing. Now, the people who don't, they're like, "Oh, I never thought about that." And it's great, let's talk about that. And it's like they're not interested in selling it. They're like fishing for friends. It's Bumble BFF, except they want to pay me for it. It's very strange.
Or even the craft of authorship. Like it's a job. It's always been a job. And you're right. When you ask, what's your book about? I've done that too, where somebody asked me to see their work. And I'm like, cool, what's their book about? And then they give me like 15 different references to pop culture stuff that they think is cool. I'm like, that's great. What's it about? You're right. Nobody knows what it's about. Like you should be able to, in a paragraph or less, tell somebody exactly what the story, like what's its heart. I don't think anybody thinks that far ahead. I think it's literally just deep fried content.
Yeah, or what they're writing for. Because a lot of people who come here, they're like, look, I hate what is coming out of mainstream publishing. And I think a lot of us are in that spot. What the fuck is this? And so we want to write our own. We want to build our own. But what does that look like? Are you just going to write your own version of the same shit that they're coming out with, except mine?
Can they even articulate what's wrong with it? That's the thing that gets me. Big part of what I do, which I'd like to think is doing well, is just knowing what I don't like. I don't think people know that either. I think some people might not even hate it. They just hate that it's like the big brand. They want indie guys because they like the underdog. Underdog's pretty shitty too. I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of the indie books, I've had a policy now. If anytime I see somebody who has a book, I get the sample chapter on Amazon. I have probably 50 books I've done that way now. Do you know how many I've actually went ahead and bought afterwards? It's like 2.
Yeah.
2. And one of them, kind of a pity one. I'm not going to say, I don't want to throw shade at random, like trying their best. I think the only indie one that I was actually like hooked on was Devin Erickson's Theft to Fire. Just hooked. I didn't even, I didn't have to sell it on me. Didn't have to care about any of the branding. It was just by the time I read the first chapter, I'm like, I want to read the rest of this. And that's what gets me the most, man. It's like nobody even thinks about the reader. I'm writing books. Yeah. Did you think the reader might have a part in this? It's like a doctor, but he doesn't even notice patients. Dude,
can you drill down for what about Theft of Fire made it riveting? Was it the tight plot? Was it the fact that you were interested in the character? What made that one good and the other ones not so much?
It's funny. I can think about it now, but I try not to. I just liked enjoying the experience. But if I thought about it, it starts off, it tells me what the fucking book's about within the first couple pages. And I'm like, I get it. The hook isn't a cool thing and nobody likes the idea of, I have to trick the guy. It's a hook, man. It starts off, chick breaks into a guy's ship. She's eating his food. She has a bunch of robots. She basically takes them hostage saying, we're going to do this heist. Get in here. You owe me. I just bought your debt. If you fuck with me, these robots are going to kill you. I'm like, wow, I know the stakes. I know the plan. I know the plot. I got a little bit of characterization. She's like the Princess Leia, bitchy princess. He's like the disgruntled dock worker with daddy issues. I can work with that. And then I don't know if he ended every chapter on cliffhangers, but it definitely had the same effect where when I'm done a chapter, I'm curious what happens next. And he's just really good at that. I'd have to read it again to know is the plot, like all the technicals in that. But I think ultimately he just understood. He just made me care. And he told me what I was in for. Like the newest one I read, and I'll tell you offline who this one is. I don't want to shit on him. I actually like him as a person. But I was like halfway through the first chapter. And he was so busy telling me about how smart he was and how good his prose was that I still don't know what are we doing here? I think that's the one thing. If you can't make and this is, I talk about it with my author, Nick, all the time for both my books. I probably spent 20 times as much effort on the first page as I did on the rest of the book. I wanted the first line to be a banger, the first paragraph to be a banger, and the first chapter to be a banger. And then if I have to explain or exposition, I'm like, I'll buy some goodwill in chapter 2. And I don't think anybody does that. And it drives me nuts. I don't think they understand.
Like, I don't think they do either, because the whole prologue discussion, people are like, oh, if I see a prologue, I just skip it because it's not important to the story. It's tangential. So no, you don't understand. The prologue serves a function. It's the hook because
it could.
Yeah, it's either pacing or because it is giving you important information. It's like a callback. It depends on the genre. It used to be
Yeah.
back in the day where the prologue was world building. Yeah, skip that shit. But now it's a pacing function where if you skip it and then you complain about, oh, chapter one kind of dragged. Yeah, because you skipped the hook. And chapter one is supposed to be where you're resting, and then chapter two is going to pick up again. So that
Hey,
kind
can I
of
ask you a technical
class.
question on that too then?
Uh-huh.
So why make the prologue at all? Why not just make the prologue chapter one?
Typically, what the prologue is, it's something that is either a different POV character that we wouldn't get. So it's much more common if we have a sole POV first person book. So you get
Gotcha.
prologues a lot more common with those. Or if there's multiple POVs and it's over a long period of time, you want to skip to the good part. It's okay, what am I getting into? The prologue can be like a promise to the reader. It's all right, we're going to have all of this political intrigue in chapter one, but what we're actually going to be doing is time travel. And so the prologue would set that up so you don't think you're getting into a political thriller when actually you're getting into a time travel book. So it's the prologue can be pacing issue, it can be a promise to the reader, or it could just be like a slam bang hook. In the
Hmm.
TV show, it's like someone gets punched in the face. Oh, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got here. It's like that shit.
Yeah, yeah. See, that sounds great. Where is that? I'd love that.
They did it too many times and now it's a joke on Family Guy.
No, I just mean the prologue in general. That prologue you talk about sounds great.
Yeah.
Awesome. I would love to read that
But
and see
it's
that.
people who are doing it wrong. They're just like, oh, it's just world building. It shouldn't be world building. And so when they send it to me, it's sometimes I'll be like, oh, fuck this prologue, get rid of it. But other times I'll be like, okay, this chapter four, that should be your prologue. Let's do that because it's a
And
good book.
but I hate world building in general, or at least how it's executed. I'm not a big fantasy guy. I don't mind it. I'll probably do it just to see if it's doable at some point. But the idea of world building, there's a gaming term from fighting games called mental stack. Have you ever heard of this? Oh, dude. So mental stack is fighting games are essentially a game of paper, rock, scissors. And that's your mental stack. You have to think, I have to watch for rock, paper, and scissor. And then you'll layer stuff on it. Sometimes he'll do a throw, and I'm mixing the metaphors here. I get it. I have to do a throw, which has a certain counter, so I got to watch for that. Or maybe there's movement, and then all of these different things you have to watch out for. They are start adding to your mental stack, and it gets to the point that if you're a good player, and this is the inverse example, if you're a good player, you overload the person's mental stack to the point where they're watching for so many different things that you get away with like very obvious and slow moves. And I found that was like totally applicable to writing, but negatively. So, for example, somebody is giving me all of these amazing world details. This is the tax policy of Gondor, and this is the thing, and this culture does this, and this race does this, and I've got all this stuff, and I'm like keeping this in my head because if somebody is telling you something, I got that Chekhov's gun on the brain where I'm seeing the gun, it's going to be set off somewhere. Problem is now I have so much stuff in my mental stack that, and I'm sure you guys have noticed this, where you're reading a book and then you go to the next page and you realize, what the fuck did I just read? And you have to go back and reread the page. It's because your mental stack, you're busy thinking of all of these setups and all of these details that somebody gave you that you're not even paying attention. I'm here for the book. Nobody likes Stephen King. He's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He's a prick. But they'll read The Shining. They'll read Running Man and all of his Bachman stuff, but they wouldn't piss on Stephen King if he's on fire. So why are you trying to be your reader's friend? And so
Yeah.
and Nick told me this, it's just reveal, don't explain. And I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense. And
Yeah,
it
I'll
kind
have to
of
put it in
dives
terms
into
of
the
the
readings. Yeah.
camera. It's because if you're thinking in terms of filmmaking, you've got the camera pan wide shot, but if the camera lingers on something, you're telling the viewer to pay attention. Why are you
Yeah.
lingering here? And I found this as fantasy is especially bad, where they will just describe the shit out of one particular character. He's an amazing
Yeah.
warrior, and he's so strong in his armor, and he's got this cape that's embroidered, and then he dies on the next page. Why did you spend all that time lingering on this person who doesn't matter? Oh, just because he was cool. I don't care.
And spending all that time calling him an alpha male or whatever the hell. It's like if
Hmm.
only there was some kind of technique using the written word that you could show somebody having these qualities instead of just saying it. He was the
Exactly.
greatest swordsman. I'm like, this seems like a great spot you could add a sword fight in where he wins real easy. Oh, he's the most amazing wizard. I don't know, cast some spells, do something. Don't just tell me, oh, her tits were magnificent. Really? It's literotica. Give me a sex scene. And I think it's just lazy. People's imagination is more scary than anything your crafts department can come up with. And you just take those ideas together and you realize, yeah, it's like you have an imagination. Kristen, you have an amazing imagination. I've heard your rants. They're pretty damn clever. So why would I be busy here telling you the color of the apron on the... You know what an apron is. Why'd I have to tell you about the detail? You know what a kitchen is. Even for me, from like the one city, I called it New Kowloon. It's the idea of the place was all like covered with wireless oppression, authoritative technology. But because of all the infrastructure required, it created these little Faraday cages where signals don't get in and go get out. And so people who didn't want to be part of that would sneak into there. And I'm like, it's exactly what Kowloon's walled city was. So I call it New Kowloon. Now, you know what Kowloon walled city is. You know what it looks like. You know what to expect. I don't have to give you a 5-page dissertation on the plumbing inside of New Kowloon. You automatically know it. And that's because you have an imagination. So why don't I give you the heavy lifting of the imagination, and I just give you the scaffolding to allow you to be your best at your imagination. And I find when you asked before about what it was I liked the most about Theft of Fire is that Dev did that. He gave me just enough details that in my mind, like he never really described the ship. Called it like old and crappy and that. So I could picture the Millennium Falcon if I'm a Star Wars nerd. I can picture the ship from Lex if I'm that. But whatever I picture is going to be perfect for me. Whatever he tells me is going to be perfect for him. But who's the one here trying to enjoy the book? Me.
I was picturing the craft from Firefly when I was reading Theft of Fire. So it's, yeah, you bring your own thing. And that's the thing when they went after John with the Orc City thing. Oh, why did you call it Orc City instead of giving it its own name? It's because it doesn't matter. You're taxing. It's what is this name of the city? No, you know what an Orc City is.
Yeah.
So
City of Orcs.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's a little...
Orcs, and it's burning.
Yeah, and you can give them shit for it being too on the nose, but God knows. I named the small hidden city Kowloon. It's like, I've found that when you think you're being too on the nose, you're actually not. So don't worry about it. What's a city of orcs? What do you call it? Orc City? What a pleb. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't seem like it's that strong a detail that they need to reinvent the wheel. Just let them go with it.
Yeah, the snobbery element of the writing community is always fun. And the things that they get hung up with, it's, oh, that's so stupid. It's not something that the average reader would ever even notice or think, even if they're prolific readers. They're not going to sneer down their nose. It's, oh, how dare you? But, it's quote unquote writers, they'll get really upset about it because you're not cool like them.
Because you're finishing it. You're finishing a book. I didn't finish. Fuck you. I'm smarter than you. You know why? Because I would have called it Glondor. They're acting like there's some weird dinner party that everybody gets invited to. And if they just, you don't get to come.
That is really weird. And that's what I noticed with the whole, the cancel pig Jordan Lee thing. It's so funny, and she's young and normie girls, and they're just like this. There's this whole idea of what if, and you've actually been in the trenches. You've actually been successfully publishing. You've been making money.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to people who say, what if I piss off the wrong person? What if in building my own thing and doing what I want to do, I piss off the wrong person and my life is going to be over?
What if I stand up to my wife and she leaves me? This is like the red pill side of things. It was so many guys are neurotic, and it's about that imagination catching off with you, right? Oh, what if I stand up to my wife? What if I tell her no? What if she gets mad at me? She's gonna, and they never say what she's gonna do. It's always she's gonna abandon me, and then it's always just some vague feeling of terror and dread. One of the funniest things you ask them, articulate it. What is she gonna do? Like, she'll probably divorce me. I'm like, go talk to a lawyer. What's a lawyer going to tell you? You're going to lose this. You're going to lose this. Is there anything you can do about that? Yeah, I can mitigate it with this. I can spend more time with the kids. I can not take that promotion so I don't earn money and I don't get to the next category of whatever. And it's okay. So now what happens if she leaves you? And he goes, it'll suck, but it's not bad. I'm like, all right then. So we're worried about nothing. And I think it's the same thing for writers. What if I piss off the wrong guy? What the fuck is that going to do? What is he going to do? Penguin won't publish you? I'm a heterosexual guy who cusses. They're not going to publish me anyway. Yep. I can write the Bible 2.0. They'll be like, nah, we're looking for something more lesbian themed. Like, all right, fair enough. I think a lot of people misunderstand. It's just, what do you think is going to happen if somebody doesn't like you? Oh, they're not going to buy it. Oh, they might talk shit. I'm like, I got this guy named George Bruno talking shit to me all the time. And my audience loves it because I sit there and have a good laugh about how much he hates me. What are they going to do? What, some author community is not going to like you? I tell you, I joined a writing community once. Did I ever tell you this?
I don't think so.
When I first started writing the nonfiction. I joined a writer community. I'm like, this is perfect. I'm a writer soon, hope to be. I'll talk to other writers, and there's to be some magic to come out of it. And I learned it's just everybody sitting there with a fictional world that they've been working on for 10 years, and they haven't written fucking 10 words. They're like, nobody writes. And then I watched somebody actually finish his book, and they all hated him. They're like, get out of here. We're a writing community. We don't have time for this authorship bullshit. So what? These people don't matter. They don't buy books. They sit and they bitch and they moan. They want to be the best writer in the room. And if the room has writers in it that are better, they want them out.
Yeah.
And it's no different. It was the same as every space. It's not like writers are particularly obnoxious. The video game space had this. The Tekken community for fighting games had this. The anime, comic books. Dude, the Eric July shit that was flying around for a while there.
It still is. They're still talking about him. And they get mad at anybody who says anything nice about him. It's, oh, we're going to make a 45-minute live stream about you because are you serious?
Yeah, and look, I don't really have any dog in the fight, but I'm aware he's cutting a lot of corners and he's made some very dubious business decisions, but nobody's making that critique anyway. And he doesn't care because he's still getting paid. It's kind of like the AI stuff now. Everybody's, oh, you can't touch AI. I'm like, you could, but AI sucks. But that's not why you hate it. You hate it because you think somebody's going to write the great American novel without any input, which they're not.
That's exactly.
So what are you really worried about?
I had some little retard be like, if you use an AI image on your social media post, how can I trust your writing? And I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? How can you trust my writing? How did I know you didn't use AI? You can't tell when you look at it. So you're saying that you can't tell the difference between AI writing and non-AI writing, but I'm the problem here? Get the fuck out of my face.
Meanwhile, they're listening to top 40 stuff that's been auto-tuned to hell. Like, people don't realize auto-tune doesn't sound like a Kanye track anymore. Auto-tuning is how people all sound.
Yeah.
Nobody cared. It's the MP3 effect. And I'm not saying this as in you should be writing with AI, because I don't agree with it. I don't like, because it just takes other people's ideas. It's not going to be creative. I like it for proofreading.
Oh, yeah.
I like it for summarizing things if I sometimes want to see if I'm like flowing well, but I don't like it for that kind of stuff. I even did a Substack essay on that. I had AI and I gave it the prompt, and then I wrote a story with the same prompt, and I put them up there. I'm like, you guys tell me who's better. And theirs was fucking garbage.
Yeah.
It was like, but in fairness, and this is the MP3 effect, where this guy from Berkeley, I think it was Berkeley or Juilliard, one of those music schools, and he would always interview with students at the beginning of the thing, and they'd show them like what sounded better, and people liked live stuff, and MP3 sounded scratchy, and it's just a weird hiss to them because of their loss effect from the encryption. But we found out was over the years, people started to prefer MP3s because WAV files sounded better, but they're 60 megs a file, and MP3s are 3. And so the MP3 effect is that people will trade accessibility for quality, or trade quality for accessibility. But the MP3 effect of that is they actually convince themselves that they prefer the shittier quality because of accessibility. And that leads into lit RPG, which I do not understand. So all these guys bitching about AI art, I'm like, or AI writing, I'm like, have you looked at lit RPG? Have you looked at the latest lit erotica? What's the latest one where a chick's fucking a minotaur or something?
Oh my God, it's like the milking farm or whatever. Oh, the cover just...
so it's a bull. Yeah, just a cow.
No, it is a minotaur. And it's just...
Oh, it is a minotaur.
I can't even look at the cover. It just makes me gag. I can't stand it. Ugh.
But they're eating this shit up. Bean flicker literature is having a golden age with this nonsense. So I can bitch about it and I don't like it and I don't use it myself, but I can't be mad at somebody who's doing something that clearly people want enough to buy. I think it's a weird thing. I don't know how it's going to play out with AI in the long run. Like, it's going to have an effect. I don't know to which effect. Maybe AI will be good enough and people would just want, but I think we're oversaturated as a market anyway.
Oh yeah.
Amazon prints way too many books before AI. I think accessibility works when there's a scarce, like the demand far outstrips the supply. That's why MP3s took off and records don't. But I don't see that with books, so I don't think it's going to have the same weight. But who am I to say? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But what is working for you in terms of the business side? So cover design, editing, marketing, what works and what doesn't in terms of what you have seen, and especially since you have fiction and nonfiction experience.
Yeah, dude, I'm the one-man band. I'm the guy who's stepping on the cymbals, clanking on the things. All of it. First off, I've got, for all of my covers, I've done them myself. My degree was actually in graphic design when I was in university, so it's very useful. I've used photographs. I've used digital art. I hired an artist to paint one for me. I've used AI mixed with other techniques. I think to look at it as in which tool do I want to use is a bad way to look at it. I think you want to look at it as in same way you look at writing. And the stuff that's worked for me is everything is a series of problems. And the way you solve them defines your voice or your brand or your look or whatever you want to use. So for example, pulling it up here. It's actually the one I think I'm going to mail to you, Softbone. Each one of these characters is AI generated, but they're not, I didn't generate the scene. I have like hundreds of generated characters, and I looked at ones, I put them together, I added my own stuff to it, I added my own typography in that. So it's the same as using it as you would use stock photos or clip art or any of those like asset things, which most people use anyway. But I have to think, what's the problem I'm trying to solve with a cover? A, you want it to look good enough that somebody's willing to leave it lying around. So maybe a friend will be like, hey, what's that book? B, people are going to see it on a 1-inch by 1-inch thumbnail on their thing. So you have to be able to tell what it is from that distance, which I think most people fail on, especially with fantasy. It's always the same dark picture of a dragon and a guy, and the text is always small and very medieval looking. But if you put it on a thumbnail, I can't tell it from another one. So I have to be able to tell what this is in a very small size. It needs to be something that looks good enough that people want to hold it out. And then thirdly, assuming people are just scanning through looking for something to buy, I have to tell them as much of what they're in for as possible. What is this book? So you have to put all that stuff together. And I don't know where I was going with that one. Oh, yeah. And if you do it well, you get to buy 1/10 of a second of somebody's attention where they might decide to click on it and then see more. Not so much the blurbs, not so much anything. It's that little picture, 1 inch tall. That's why Softbone is written with like big chunky letters. I need that to be visible this small. It's in that bright, and it's in that neon fluorescent green color because I looked through the top 100 books in cyberpunk, which it would be competing against. And everybody has their shit in the same blue color, blue and black. And so I'm like, yeah, the last thing I want to do is just look like everybody else's book. And that's another decision you have to make. Do you want something that fits in, or do you want something that stands out? Because each has their own problems. If I pick something that looks like everybody else's, has that Memphis corporate look. Do you know what the Memphis corporate is? A lot of girls' books have that one. It's where it looks like almost cardboard cutouts, very simplistic looking. You'll see it on a lot of like diversity posters and that people have and all the kind of things. Anyways, if you look it up, it's called Memphis corporate. It's a very specific look. It's very ugly. But if you're writing a female or young adult literotica type book and you don't use that, then you have an uphill battle because people at least know what to expect. Or like,
oh, it's the Globo Homo art. Ew.
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the point. Everybody knows if you're going to write a female fiction, contemporary fiction one, and you use that one, then people know what they're expecting. But you have to compete with everybody else. How is this one better than the other 90 of them that have it? That's one way to go. And then the other way to go is you make something that looks completely different. So like I'm competing with those with Dog Walker, for example. And Dog Walker, this one looks it's almost like when I asked the guy to do it, I wanted him to do like a Ralph Bakshi rotoscope watercolor. Nobody has a book that looks like that. So when I put it in there, yeah, it'll stand out. But at the same time, the reader has no expectations. So it's what decision do you want to do? Do you want to have it stick in? Do you want to have to be hyper competitive, but at least have reader expectations? Or do you want to lose the reader expectations, but have a way of standing out as something unique?
Yeah, because there's a lot of, with the romances, the cartoon covers were very in for a while. And so a lot of the authors were like, oh, we're going to use this style of cover, except there's some hardcore sex in there. So it's like the cover did not communicate what was inside because they're reading these things in public. And so they're like, oh, so we don't embarrass the readers. We'll just lie about what kind of book this is. And yeah.
See, now that's interesting too, because I'm like, that actually makes sense. I don't agree with the trade-off, but I understand that logic. Something you can read on the subway without people thinking you're a pervert. I get it.
They did the same thing with
Apparently Fabio's
horror.
abs just aren't doing that anymore.
Yeah, they totally nerfed the horror covers because I'm sure you remember. I think you're around my age. Like back in the day, the horror book covers, they did not play. Blood and
Yeah.
guts and skulls and snakes. Like they did real good work. But then, oh, the satanic panic happened. You can't have those disgusting, they're probably murderers. And so now
Tom
horror
Hanks is
books.
making a movie set the industry back decades.
Yeah,
What was
exactly.
that
It's
one?
just
Wizards
like
and Warriors or whatever?
it's just like font. It's like that's a horror cover now. And the same
Yeah.
thing with erotica. You don't get the pirate and the lady with the heaving bosom. Now you get like a skate with a hot pink background. It's just
Yeah.
that they want to lie about it.
And that worries me. I don't think people even, I'm sure the pros, I'm hoping they do but I don't think the average indie writer thinks about this stuff, which again, it's probably from the military, just being detail oriented, I think matters. I think they're so busy thinking they want to be a writer and not how to write a book. And I think it really does a disservice because a lot of books, there was this based book comic sale just happened this last week. I joined in because I'm like, this looks like fun. And they already have beef starting up, which is pretty awesome. I'm not invested in this, guys. You run your mouths. I don't care. But I was like, all right, I'm going to buy one of them in random to see which one appeals to me. It's this one called 28 Minutes into the Future. And there was a short story in there about a dad who's been using the authoritarian stuff to stalk his daughter because basically feminism makes men wrong and evil, and she has to assassinate him. It's an interesting premise of a story, but I don't think he wrote it as he wrote it as like if I were to pitch it to somebody else. So it's not reading a story, it's reading somebody explaining a story to you, which is too bad because it's like, as a premise alone, I thought that'd be a great story. I'd love to see him actually write it, but I don't think he thought about it that way. I thought he just thought these ideas are cool. I'm going to put them down on paper and I'm going to give them to you. But that's the thing. I actually liked it. But at the same time, it's not a book yet. It's not a story yet.
Right. And that is the problem with self-publishing because there are no gatekeepers. If you're building something for yourself, if you're stepping outside the gatekeepers, that means there's nobody saying, okay, this is good or this isn't good. And if there is somebody saying that, who the hell are you to judge? And so you have that, you can't not have the slop, unfortunately.
And I don't know how to bring anybody on board it, but then I realized I'm not my brother's keeper. Fuck him. Softbone is barely cracking top 100. And I checked the genre for cyberpunk. The first 20 of them are AI generated lit RPG books, fantasy settings. They're not even cyberpunk. And so at the same time, by not bringing these people on board, they're over sloppifying the industry to the point that it's making my life harder too. I don't know. I don't know what the solution to that one is other than your job isn't to write books. Your job is to build an audience. I need people to like me and not like the book, which goes against what I just said before. But I don't know.
It's like people try to outsmart the metadata. So it's okay, if I can get in this category, then I'm going to be a bestseller. And then the algorithm will push me. And instead of building an audience, they're trying to outsmart the algorithm. And to a certain extent, sometimes you can do that. So you end up with lit RPG in the cyberpunk category where it doesn't belong and it's AI generated and it's not what anybody in that category is looking for. So they're making bank, but it ruins the reading experience and then it turns people away. So it further fractures the audience, which is a problem. So I think the individual, the personal audience, and then the small communities of creators who are like vouching for each other, I think it's going to be like a guild model going forward because with the
Can't wait for the guild wars. We start clubbing each other with hammers.
So the next logo we design will be the guild design. Yes, it'll be great. So what do you think the future is going to look like for you and then for writing fiction in general?
Oh, balkanization for sure. Back to the guy I was saying that was just in the 20 AI generated ones. I did a dive. I'm like, who is this guy? And I looked it up. He does like the Royal Roads thing. He's got a sizable audience there. He has a Patreon, makes 80,000 a month. And all he does is send him chapters of his work. But here's the thing. Yeah, you can groan. Oh, that sucks. Oh, this guy's talentless, whatever. It's, yeah, but it's working. It's working.
No, I'm groaning in jealousy.
I don't know.
I'm mad. That's me.
Jordan Peterson only made 20 grand a month during his heyday on Patreon. So think about this. He's 5 times Jordan Peterson, and he didn't have to yell at any troons to get there. And it's always the approach I've had is, yeah, it's great that we can hate the people that are ruining things for the rest of us, but he's grifting a sizable income. So if he's bad, you, with all your talent, should be able to take his model, apply it to your talent, and crush it. That's always the approach I've taken. And again, it's like you said with those writing guys with the ego. They want to be writers trademark. They want to be at dinner parties. They don't actually want to practice and hone their craft and get better. And any of that shit. They don't want to learn from people who know more than them. They don't want to steal ideas from things that work. No, I want it done my way, and I want my way to work, and anybody else who can't do it, I want them out. This is why if there ever is a guild, I'll be outside the guild anyway, because I don't want any of that shit in my life. Bring it publicly, I'll talk shit for clout, but that's it. When I first started, my first book, my email list was only 1,000 people. And Fuck Files, my first book, is not my best book. I'd say out of all of my books, it's my least good book from any technical perspective you want to do. But it still sold more copies than all of my other ones. I think it's up to 10,000 copies altogether, which I'm told almost nobody does. And it's not my greatest book. It's not my written book. I didn't have a giant audience when I started it. It was just take all the things that people did, apply them with what I've got, and then patience.
And you nailed it with that title. Even if it's outside your audience, it's like, what is that?
I know. That's the one thing I regret, though, is I thought it was like, dude, it's like sort of an F-bomb, but not really. And I was like, oh, I'm so clever. And then all of a sudden I look at the thing like 6 months later and everybody's got F-bombs everywhere. I'm just like, I should have named it something else.
You got in at the ground floor.
Yeah, I got it at the ground floor. But that's the one thing I wish I'd have done too with the dog walker that I didn't do is if you guys, the one other authorship thing, whatever your title is, Google it. Google it on Amazon and Google it on Google. Because damn, do you know how hard it is to get a book called The Dog Walker to pop up on a search?
Uh-huh.
You have to add like basically my full name in there. Softbone works. Dog Walker does not. Frame and Dread, they used to, but there's a bunch of guys making AI slop. One guy made a book with the same comic book cover as mine, but it's like AI generated, so it's different. And then the book was called Dread, but not Dread. He was basically leapfrogging on my SEO. I was so annoyed. Man.
That is just
he's one of those new authors that, like 20 books have been out since 2022. You're like, oh, that's great. Yeah.
All right. So if people want to find you, where should they go?
Oh, you don't want to find me. Now, I mean, it depends. I'm everywhere. So I always hate saying this. Like you've got the Rian Stone on YouTube. And that's mostly like the nonfiction and the red pill stuff. It's the podcast mostly where it's more just casual, just directly with the audience. That's fine. I also talk a lot about storytelling on my third channel, Orion Films, which is YouTube / #Orion2 or # or the @ And that's where I just take a lot of movies that were made over the last 50 years and I show you like why they're good. Yeah, everybody loves RoboCop. Do you ever know why? I'll talk about like the characterization or like the specific ways they break the rules that work. Then there's Substack. And that's where most of the writing gets done. And that's just Rian Stone and Substack. You can go there if you want to. And there's the Amazon if you want to go on to these ones. Then there's Twitter if you just want to see me be an absolute prick. Mr. Rian Stone on Twitter, which I don't go there. You don't, if you like me, if you think you like me and you go on, you're like, who this fuck this guy? I don't know.